Yo, what is going on, you guys? So today I'm bringing guys a brand new sports cards video. In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down what I believe to be the best football card investments to make right now to position yourself for the offseason. If you guys are unaware, as I mentioned in this channel plenty times before, throughout the offseason, you see massive speculation happen across the board. You see a lot of investors get really excited for the next season. So the summertime is usually the prime time where you're going to see prices go up the most, and usually right after the Super Bowl is when you're going to see prices really bottom out. So without further ado, let's hop right into the video and see where I see some opportunities. All right, guys, so one player's market that I personally see a good amount of opportunity in is CJ Stroud. I know Stroud did not have the best sophomore season. It was very up and down. His O-line was just not playing at its best, and overall, he just had a little bit of struggles during the season. His card market has come down a lot. A lot of his important cards are down a lot. If you look at some of his more important Prism cards, whether it's like a Prism Camo or whatever it is, we're seeing a lot of price declines. So Stroud's market is down nearly 35% over the last 90 days. He was able to win a playoff game. They beat the Chargers, but then, of course, they lost to the Chiefs. And his card market, I think, right now is at a place where I think it's more reasonable. It's a good opportunity to buy in. I think personally, I believe Stroud's not going anywhere. I believe, with some healthy receivers, Nico Collins was out for a good amount of the year. Of course, Dell and Diggs both got injured. So a lot of his receivers were kind of in and out. And his O-line was not holding up. I think the Texans are going to continue to improve as a team. I think the Texans are going to continue to try to get some more weapons around Stroud. Maybe if it's not, wide receiver, tight end, maybe it can be their O-line just beefing them up and helping Stroud continue to improve. I think a lot of players have that sophomore slump, but I think CJ Stroud's one of those guys where throughout the offseason, even if he doesn't have a good year next year, throughout the offseason, there will be speculation that, Stroud will continue to go up in price. We saw that happen last year. A lot of players who did not have the best years, their prices really bottomed out after the season. But throughout the offseason, people got a more broad perspective and said, look, I think a lot of people are going to say, look, I think Stroud's still a top 10 quarterback in this league. He's still very young, still got a lot of upside. And a lot of people will be speculating a bounce back year from him next year. So I think that's going to cause a lot of his prices to go back up. And especially a lot of his cards that have been hit very hard. Some of his cards are down, 60 to 80%. I think those cards are really going to bounce back throughout the offseason. Maybe not back to where they were before, but at least see some good gains. So I think we could definitely see that happen in CJ Stroud's market. Now, the next player on my list is none other than JJ McCarthy. I think JJ McCarthy, him not playing last season is almost a blessing for his card market. His cards have actually gone down over the last 90 days, whereas all these other rookies, such as Bo Nix, even if they got eliminated from the playoffs, they've been going up a lot. So I think McCarthy's going to be that name similar to, I think, what Anthony Richardson was last offseason. You saw his gold prism sell for an insane amount of money. His cards overall were so hyped, even though he was injured the year before. It took a little bit for the hype to gain, though. I think, he really gained hype probably around that April to May time, and then throughout the rest of the summer, his name was up there. And I think McCarthy's going to be the same. Regardless of what happens with his situation, I think at some point, he's flying under the radar right now. 2024 Prism is so hot. Right before the season starts, people are not going to care whether the player played last year or not. I think if at all, it gives more hype because there's more speculation of what he's going to do. We just look at what happened with Anthony Richardson last year. His cards throughout the summer were insanely priced. His Prism Gold PSA 10 auto, this card was over $20,000 sales in May. And this card absolutely took off in price before coming down a lot. So I just think overall, McCarthy's going to be that name this offseason of a player who is going to have a lot of speculation around his cards, and they're under the radar right now. I think it's a great time to get into JJ McCarthy's cards. Another player I think, after this season, I think next month, there's going to be a massive dip, and prices are going to bottom out for guys like Bo Nix, Drake Maye. I think those two are great buying opportunities. They had solid rookie years. You can only know what happens when a player is a solid rookie year, what happens that whole summer. Their cards go up a ton in price. We saw it happen with Stroud last year. Even Bryce Young, guys who had bad rookie seasons, they still went up in price. I think Bo Nix is going to be one of those guys who's at the spotlight. A lot of his cards are going to be selling for extremely high numbers. And I think a lot of his market is a little bit cornered right now by certain investors. So there's going to be a lot of upside in terms of his market. And I think a lot of his important cards are going to see some great price gains. Especially the Kabooms, the Color Blast. These cards right here are going to be some of the most important cards, for Bo Nix and Drake Maye and all these guys. And I think they're going to be in the spotlight this whole summer. If you look at Drake Maye, he had a great rookie year. He showed a lot of, signs of greatness, which is what investors in the sports card hobby crave over. So even those, some good games he had, those are going to be the games that carry his sports card prices throughout the summer. I think he's a great investment. When prices do bottom out right after the Super Bowl, I think I'm going to be looking to pick up some of Drake Maye's cards to hold throughout the offseason for that speculation to continue to grow throughout the offseason, and probably get rid of it right before the season starts. Now, another name on our list I wanted to go over is none other than Joe Burrow. Now, Joe Burrow and players in this category are players who missed the playoffs, players who got injured, players who still have that, who I believe will have hype on them throughout the offseason, but right now are sitting very low. And I think Joe Burrow is one of them. If you look at his light blue prism, pop 118 in a PSA 10, fairly low pop. His cards have really come down. Like this right here being a $600 card, I think, has some great opportunities. This is a card right here that was a close to $2,000 card when he was in the spotlight. And now that he's not in the spotlight, it's a $600 card. I think throughout the offseason, we saw what the Bengals offense did. He's still at it, playing very well. He's still got Jamar Chase. They might lose T. Higgins, but I think him and Chase being on a team, if they can beef up that defense, the Bengals could be back next year. And I think a lot of people will be speculating on the moves that they make throughout the offseason. And I think his market is going to rebound. It did the same last offseason. He was injured the year before. Throughout the offseason, his card prices went up. And then obviously he had a bad year. Or his team had a bad year. I won't say he had a bad year. He actually had a great year. But I think right now is a time where all attention's away from him and his prices are, very calm. I think attention will be back to him throughout the summer. One guy who I think also attention is totally away from right now is Brock Purdy. I don't expect Brock Purdy to have an insane career. I think he's going to sign a massive deal this offseason. I think the Niners are going to make a couple moves. I think the Niners are going to have a lot of speculation into next year. They've got a great roster on paper. If Brock Purdy signs, a $200+ million contract, I could see the market rebounding for his cards. They're down so much from where they were, and I just see good opportunity. I think his cards are sitting very low. A lot of attention's away from him. People are not really looking for Brock Purdy cards right now, and I think that's leading to a great opportunity. His cards are down over 20% over the last 90 days. His team had a very rough year with injuries. Ayuk was injured. You had pretty much the whole team at some point in the year was injured. So I think overall, his cards are going to be in the spotlight this offseason. Maybe not number one, number two, but I think his cards will be bought this offseason more than they are bought right now. I think right now everyone's sort of forgotten about Purdy. But I think that contract extension will gain a lot of hype in his card market. Now, next up will probably be the hottest player of the offseason, Jayden Daniels. I would wait for his cards to really bottom out right now. They're sitting at extremely high prices. But if these do bottom out at some point, I think they're going to be at massive investments that are going to be some of the most liquid cards in the hobby. Like, who will not want a Jayden Daniels rookie card this offseason. As I'm recording this, they haven't faced the Eagles yet, but regardless of what happens, he's going to be the quarterback of the offseason. So if you're able to find the right cards, I'm actually making a video of the 5 best Jayden Daniels cards I believe you guys should go after. So if you're interested in buying into Jayden Daniels, his card market, I definitely suggest watching that video. But other than that, I hope you all enjoyed. If you enjoyed, make sure to drop a like and subscribe. I really appreciate all the support recently, and let us know what other videos you guys want to see.